Hey guys, welcome back to the Gossip Empire. If you're new here, I'm really happy you're here. This is where we sit down, unpack royal moments properly, and actually talk through what we're seeing instead of just reacting to headlines. Okay, let's get into this. So, Meghan and Harry were spotted at a basketball game recently, sitting courtside, and at first glance it seems simple, just a couple at a game. But with them, nothing is ever just that simple. When the clips first started circulating, I watched them a few times. Not because anything dramatic happened, there wasn't some shocking moment, but because I was trying to understand the energy, and energy tells you more than headlines ever will. Harry looked fully immersed in the game, leaning forward, reacting to plays, focused. There were moments where you could see that competitive spark in him, that side we sometimes forget about because we're so used to discussing royal drama. He's always loved sports. You can see it in the way he watches. And Meghan looked relaxed. Not performing, not overly expressive, just present, smiling when something funny happened, leaning in to talk to him, listening. There was a natural rhythm between them, and that's what stood out. Because if you think back to earlier public appearances, especially during their final period in the UK, there was always this layer of pressure hanging over everything. Even when they smiled, you could sense tension underneath. The scrutiny was intense. This felt different. It felt lighter. Now, let's zoom out for a second. Harry grew up inside one of the most structured institutions in the world. His life was mapped out before he could even understand what it meant. Formal engagements, carefully planned appearances, strict codes of conduct, everything symbolic. So to see him now, years later, sitting courtside at an American basketball game, laughing, blending into the crowd of celebrities and executives, it says something about how far removed his life is from what it once was. And the thing is, he didn't look like someone trying to reinvent himself. He looked comfortable. That's a huge difference because sometimes when people change environments, especially under public scrutiny, you can feel when they're forcing it. This didn't feel forced. Now let's talk about Meghan for a moment. Basketball culture in America is very different from royal culture in the UK. It's loud, it's flashy, it's celebrity-driven. Courtside seats are prime visibility, cameras pan constantly, social media clips everything, and Meghan has always understood media spaces. Long before she became the Duchess of Sussex, she worked in entertainment. She understands angles, framing, public perception. But in these clips, she didn't look like someone calculating her every move. She looked like someone enjoying the atmosphere. That subtle difference is important. Of course, the internet reacted instantly. Some people said it was strategic visibility. That being courtside keeps them relevant in American celebrity culture. Others said it was refreshing to see them out and about looking happy. And honestly, both things can exist at the same time. Public figures are aware of optics. That doesn't automatically make every smile fake. It just means they understand they're being watched. What I found interesting was how people dissected their body language. There were slow-motion clips circulating, zooming in on tiny interactions. The way Harry leaned toward Meghan, the way she touched his arm, the way they reacted to something funny. And I kept thinking, imagine not being able to attend a sports game without millions of people analyzing your posture. That level of scrutiny changes people. It makes you guarded. But in this case, they didn't seem guarded. There was ease. And ease is hard to manufacture consistently. Another layer here is symbolism. Basketball in America isn't just a sport. It's cultural, it's community, it's entertainment. Being courtside places you in the center of that world. You're visible. You're part of the scene. For Harry, who once stood on palace balconies during national celebrations, this is a completely different kind of stage. Less formal, less traditional, but still very public. It almost feels like a visual representation of their transition, from monarchy to modern celebrity, from structured protocol to chosen visibility. And here's something I've been thinking about. When they first moved to California after stepping back from royal duties in 2020, a lot of people questioned whether they'd actually find their footing in America. Would they blend in? Would they feel out of place? Would Harry struggle? Moments like this quietly answer that question. He didn't look lost. He didn't look overwhelmed. He looked settled. And I think that's what makes some critics uncomfortable. The narrative for a long time was that they would regret leaving, that they'd struggle outside the institution. But when people see images of them looking relaxed and integrated into their new environment, it challenges that storyline. Now, let's be real for a second. They know cameras are there. You don't sit courtside and forget that. But knowing you're being filmed and being stiff because of it are two different things. There were spontaneous reactions, genuine laughter, side conversations, little shared glances. Those micro moments are difficult to choreograph. And something else I noticed, Harry seemed especially animated during certain plays. That joy looked unfiltered, and Meghan watching him react felt affectionate, in a very normal way. It didn't feel like two people trying to convince the world they're happy. It felt like two people who've built a private dynamic and occasionally allow the public to see pieces of it. There's also the broader conversation about how they've rebranded their public image over the years. In the UK, they were part of an institution that values tradition above all else. In the US, they exist within a culture that values individuality and reinvention. This basketball appearance leaned more into that American identity. Casual, confident, visible, but relaxed. And maybe that's intentional. Not in a manipulative way, but in a "this is who we are now" way. They're no longer trying to balance two worlds, they're firmly in one. And honestly, that clarity shows. I also think it's important to say this. Sometimes we overcomplicate simple things. Sometimes a basketball game is just a basketball game. Sometimes a couple just wants a night out, but because they carry titles, history, controversy, and global attention, even ordinary moments feel loaded. That's the paradox of their lives now. They stepped away from royal duties to gain autonomy, yet they remain endlessly analyzed, and maybe that's something they've accepted. What I saw in those clips wasn't defiance, it wasn't strategy, it wasn't performance, it was comfort. Comfort in their relationship, comfort in their environment, comfort in being seen without trying to control every narrative. That doesn't mean they're perfect, it doesn't mean there aren't complexities behind closed doors. No public figure is that simple. But in that moment, courtside at a basketball game, the energy felt grounded, and I think that's why it caught attention. Because after years of interviews, documentaries, headlines, accusations, and public debates, a simple, relaxed appearance feels almost radical. It strips away drama and leaves you with something human. So now I want to hear from you. When you saw those clips, what did you feel? Did it look natural? Did it shift your perception even slightly? Or do you still think every move they make is calculated down to the second? Let's actually talk about it in the comments. I love when this becomes a real discussion instead of just headlines. And if you enjoy longer, thoughtful breakdowns like this where we slow down and really read the moment, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. We're building a space where we can talk about these things without screaming at each other. Alright guys, that's it for today. I'll see you in the next one.